Well, the United Nations decade is calling for the protection and revival of ecosystems for the benefit of people and nature worldwide. This, as today's World Environment Day, it aims to generate awareness about the significance of nature. And this year's theme is Reimagine, Recreate and Restore. Let's chat more about this now with the head of the UN Environment Office in South Africa. That's Cecilia Kinuthia-Njenga. Cecilia, good afternoon. Thanks so much for your time. Let's start with what you might say to skeptics at a time like this, where many might say, you know, we're dealing with COVID at the moment. If you've been sort of keeping tabs on what's happened here, we know people are battling with electricity and water shortages. And if they had to ask you, but why should we actually give any thought, or why should we prioritize our environment at the moment?
Indeed, the theme for this year's World Environment Day is Reimagine, Recreate and Restore. And this is really the second World Environment Day that we are celebrating on the backdrop of COVID-19. And what has become very clear is that there is a direct connection between the loss of biodiversity and the health of humanity. And therefore, during this World Environment Day, we are highlighting the triple environmental emergency. We are seeing increasing biodiversity loss, we are seeing the climate disruption, and we are also seeing escalating pollution. And these triple challenges are critical if they are not addressed in ensuring that the society continues to remain intact and that we continue to benefit, as you've mentioned, from the nature resources that supply us with fresh water, that supply us with energy, that supply us with nutritious food. And once we continue to damage nature and Mother Earth, we are basically destroying ourselves.
So we see that the bigger focus this year is the recovery of ecosystems that have been degraded or destroyed, as you say. Now, during the time of lockdown, at the height of lockdown last year or about a year ago, we saw that there was some improvement in what you saw happening in the environment. You talk about pollution. We saw levels dropping as well. Is all of that particularly a thing of the past now, or have we seen some lessons learned from your observations last year?
Indeed, as the world came to a pause, we saw with many people moving to work from home, less cars on our streets, and therefore pollution in cities particularly was highly improved. You know, pollution went away and the air quality became very improved. We did see a certain change of our nature and a restoration of nature in many parts of the world. We recorded this. And that was a huge indication as to how human behavior and human action, our industrial processes, which have really brought development to us, have been greatly impacting on Mother Earth. I would say that this was really a temporary pause of our distraction to nature, but it was a huge lesson for humanity, for those that are developing policy, that are implementing policy and interventions, for industry out there to realize the importance of integrating environmental concerns, environmental dimensions in everything that we do, whether it's in agriculture, the increased use of pesticides and the impact it has on the soils, on the water, etc., and the zoonotic diseases that we are now starting to really experience in a much more increased way. And it demonstrated that we can take action. And this year again, we are launching what we are calling the UN Decade for Ecosystem Restoration. And again, it will be a decade to galvanize and mobilize action across the world to restore millions of hectares of land in order for us and the future generations to benefit from the resources that nature provides.
All right, fantastic. And very quickly for us, Cecilia, can you tell us what it is that we as ordinary people facing the battles that I mentioned earlier, what are the little things that we can do to help make this possible, to help you achieve those targets by 2030?
Yes, and this takes me back to the lessons I learned from the Nobel Peace Prize winner, Professor Wangari Maathai, who told me and echoed this message throughout the world that in order for you to take action, we talk about nature, we talk about tree planting, you really need personally to scoop out the soil, plant the seed, cover it, water it, and nurture it and see it grow. we really need to galvanize ourselves, whether it's at an individual basis, at our communities, at the national level, and globally. We need to take real action with our own hands to transform the earth that we have so much contributed to destroying. So that's one way we can do it. Let's all come together. I know it is winter season here in South Africa, but we can still do our bit in terms of greening our cities. We can do something in terms of ensuring that we stop pollution. We can recycle at our household level. We can support the modernization of our own municipal waste management systems towards a circular economy and ensuring that we do not continue to litter as much as we are doing as human beings. Our seas, the marine life out there, where millions of people depend on marine ecosystems in terms for food, for mangrove forests, etc. So there is actions that we can take at our individual level. And there are also actions that we need to advocate for at the policy level in order to achieve the goals.
All right, thanks very much for that. Well, the message couldn't be any clearer, could it? Head of the UN Environment Office in South Africa, Cecilia Kinuthia-Njenga. We'll be back for you with more on the other side of this.